5 test matches. England versus India. It's the kind of contest that whets your appetite. If you're not excited, not looking forward to it, then don't say you love test match cricket, because this is as good as it's going to get, as exciting, as interesting as it's going to get. So I'm really looking forward to it. I've been to every England test series since I started back in 90, other than the one we all missed during COVID. So very keen to see how another generation starts to adapt to English conditions. I'm going to be hosting a little bit on Sony too, just checking if I still have it. So that's another reason to feel excited. Tell me what you think once you see bits of it. Okay, so let's start. Which team starts favorite? There's a reason I say England. And as this blog continues, you'll find reasons why I say that. But primarily, let's look at the numbers and then let's look at it qualitatively. If you look at the numbers, you can go back to England playing at home since 2008, 2014. The numbers are overwhelmingly in favor of England. But I thought, let's start to look at when this side under Ben Stokes starts to come together around then and starts to play well. So I thought I'd take COVID as a cutoff. And since then, England have played 11 series at home. They've only lost 1. That was to New Zealand early on. They won 8, though there is a rider to those 8. Now, those 8 include 2 series wins against the West Indies, 1 against Ireland, 1 against Zimbabwe, 1 against Sri Lanka, 1 against Pakistan. When they've played India and when they've played Australia, they've drawn 2-2. So there's a little rider there. While those numbers are very good, there's an opportunity there too. Overall, it's 19-8 in terms of test matches. They win a lot of test matches, but they've lost 8 test matches. Once again, a little opportunity there for India too. What about India then in the same period? Just as I've looked at England at home, I've looked at India away, and specifically at India in Sena countries, because those are the more difficult countries to tour, and those are conditions that will approximate what India are likely to face. So if you go test by test, India in Sena are 7-13. 7 is not a bad number. 13 is a disturbing number. So given India's relative inability to win more test matches overseas, I think purely by numbers, I think England have the advantage. Now, let's look at things a little more qualitatively. Let's look at the experience that this side has traveling. Let's start with the batting, because I've been saying this for years. Things don't change. When you go to places like England, New Zealand, lesser extent Australia, but how you bowl the new ball, how you play the new ball matter. I said lesser extent Australia because there's less sideways movement, there's more bounce up and down, and the modern Indian batter is not as bothered by bounce as things used to be. But sideways movement is where India's been in trouble. Playing the new ball and bowling it. Now let's see playing the new ball. I'm looking at 2 key players for India in terms of experience. KL Rahul, Rishabh Pant. I think Rishabh Pant is India's #1 test batter. I love KL Rahul, as you know very well. The only worrying thing for me with KL Rahul is he's not had one mega series. And I hope this can be it. I'm a little concerned about KL Rahul being pushed back to open the batting after being told he's a middle order batter. There's just a sense of solidity when he comes and bats in the middle. But if he can blunt the new ball consistently and go on and score runs from there, he could still emerge as India's key player. But what about the other 4? I'm thinking Yashasvi Jaiswal, either Sai Sudarshan or Abhimanyu Ishwaran, Karun Nair, and of course Shubman Gill. Out of these, Gill is the only one who's got test match experience there, and he's only played 3 test matches there over 5 years. 2 of those one-off in the World Test Championship. So there's not a lot of experience there, and India cannot afford to go down early. So how those top 6 play becomes absolutely crucial. Playing that new ball, don't lose wickets early. And India must build partnerships, even if they are relatively smaller ones. Keep building partnerships. Don't lose wickets in clumps and bat deep. And that is where the role of a Karun Nair at 6, a Ravindra Jadeja at 7, whether it is Nitish Reddy or Shardul Thakur at 8 becomes important, because this is an era of low scores. This is an era where batting is struggling right from the start of when Test match cricket started to be played. Look at the last 40, 50, 60 years. This is the least productive era for batters. And that means we're looking at low scoring test matches. So every little score matters. Bat deep, hang in, bat deep, hang in, all those old fashioned values. So I think India are a little vulnerable playing the new ball and the moving ball, but bowling it is where I think India have a great advantage. Bumrah, Siraj, I loved what I saw of Akashdeep in Australia. Arshdeep moves the ball. Then you've got Shardul, Prasid, little bit of Nitish Reddy as well. I think India are well stocked on that front. I know there's a lot of talk of Bumrah playing only three, maybe 1, 3, and 4, depending on how his body goes, or maybe 1, 3, and 5. I'd love the series to be open if Bumrah is only going to play 3 test matches, one of which is the 5th. But India must start very well. And that is where I think Bumrah leading the attack at the top is going to be absolutely crucial. I mean, last time he went to England, he took over 20 wickets at 21, 22. He then went to Australia, he took 32 wickets at 13. That was incredible. That was one of the great bowling performances of all time in the history of the game. But Gill has to be very careful here not to keep looking at Bumrah all the time. I mean, if Bumrah is going to play only 3 test matches out of 5, he's got to bowl 22, 24, 25 overs in an innings if it's required. Hopefully it won't, but if it is required, he has to. But Gill has to be very careful not to keep looking at Bumrah all the time. And that is where I think the undermentioned, underrated, underthought Mohammad Siraj has a big role to play. I'd like to see how Arshdeep Singh goes because he swings the ball both ways. He's got a good bouncer. I don't know whether he can still bowl those long spells. So that is where I think Arshdeep's role could become important too. Now, if the conditions are dry, if it's hot overhead, then I think spin comes in. And then suddenly, I think it could unleash a potential match winner, a series winner in Kuldeep Yadav. Because I see the way England bat, they will attack, they will come hard at India, they will give you opportunities. And that is where if the ball is gripping and turning a little bit, it did even early season during the World Test Championship towards the end. If that happens, then suddenly Jadeja and Kuldeep become big factors. And you could even actually, in those conditions, think of Shardul as a third seamer and play Kuldeep so that you've got Shardul still, you've still got a batting option at 8. If you're very happy with the way your top 3 are going to bowl, your top 3 seamers are going to bowl, then I think there's a case for Nitish Reddy. And the more he bowls, the more he will provide because he does have that ability to bowl 10, 12 good overs in the day. So that's the call India have got to take. So 2 calls India have got to take, Sai Sudarshan or Abhimanyu Ishwaran and Nitish Reddy or Shardul Thakur. That is something the team manager will just take on a hunch. So that is where India is. I think Rahul needs a big series, Pant needs a big series, and Shubman Gill needs to bat well. I know he wants to bat down at 4. I have no issues with him batting at 4, though I actually like Rahul at 4, but if that's what the captain wants. But he's a young captain. I've done a separate blog on Gill, the captain, but if he's struggling with the bat, he still has to lead well. What I've seen of him so far is something that I'm quite happy with, given the calmness. But do watch that blog where I've looked at, I feel that some there. Now, what about England? I'm going to stick my neck out and say, of all the teams playing Test cricket at the moment, certainly in these conditions, I think England have the best batting side. Crawley, Pope, maybe a little iffy at the start. There's an opportunity there. But if England can get to 90, 100 for 2, then suddenly look what happens from 4 to 7. The best test match batter in the world at the moment, Joe Root. Enormous promise, a little untested, but enormous promise in Harry Brook. Then Stokes at 6 is such a big difference from Stokes at 4 or 5. And from what I've seen of Jamie Smith, I think it's going to be a star, a batting wicket keeper. So there you have 4, 5, 6, 7 as a genuine strength. And that is where they can take the game away from India very quickly if India have not taken early wickets. So Crawley, Pope, the slightly vulnerable ones, but there is one player who can be a game changer. For some reason, he's not a fashionable player. They don't talk about him much in England. I think he's a very dangerous player, and that is Ben Duckett. So India need to have England 3 down early to be able to attack that core. And now in the first test, if they're going to play Vokes Overton and Tongue, then they've got batting all the way down to 8 or 9. It means the bowling must be relentless for India. Keep coming, because those 30, 40 run partnerships, 20 run partnerships towards the end will become important. So I think India's bowling, which is their strength, versus England's batting, which is their strength, could be the defining encounter. But what about England's bowling? You look at who's not there. No Archer, no Atkinson, no Wood. That's an opportunity there. Ollie Stone, again, there's a bit of pace there. There's not a lot of pace here. They talk about tongue, they talk about cars, yes, but you're looking at Vokes as the primary threat. But if you're looking Vokes, Overton, Tongue, Bashir, there's a big opportunity there. I know Stokes as a bowler will make a difference, but I think there's an opportunity there. And just as we look at strength of one versus strength of the other, you also look at weakness of the one versus vulnerability of the other. Can India win that contest? Can India consistently put up runs and give their bowlers the runs and the patience with which to attack England? So while strength versus strength is key, I think if India's batting, India can get off to starts. India's batting can consistently put England under pressure. Get them to bowl Bashir a little bit more. Keep getting Stokes to bowl a little bit more with his fitness is always an issue. Then there is an opportunity for India. So there you are. That's what I think of the series. The great thing about a 5-test series is what you think about in Test match 1 can bear no resemblance to what you could see in Test match 4 or 5 because it evolves, weaknesses get exposed, suddenly players stand up and become strong as the series goes along. Conditions could change as well. We could have a very warm July in England, so things could change. My 2 key characters for this series are Jasprit Bumrah and Joe Root. I think they will, their performances will define which way this series is going.
So thank you for watching and do subscribe to this channel.